In 1961, a Canadian American psychologist did a simple experiment with preschoolers as a subject. Now, through this experiment, he essentially showed a video of adults carrying and punching and throwing an inflatable doll in which these preschoolers also held the same kind of doll. So, logically, as kids are very impressionable of their environment and also still sensitive, they follow the aggression that was shown in the video. They punch, kick, and threw the doll the same way these adults have thrown. Conclusion of the story, well, kids will be kids. They are still sensitive and they follow the people around their environment. Now, fortunately, when I was a kid, I wasn't shown a video like this, so I wasn't aggressive, but I was taught a variety of things to follow, such as my etiquette, my manner of speech, the right way to walk, and even what to love and hate. I'm sure we all have experienced the same way, as maybe you copy the way your grandma cooks noodles. Maybe you cut your hair the same way your mother taught you to. Or perhaps you say the words and slangs that your friends used to say. A habit of mine that I still apply to this day is whenever I reach out for a handshake, I always need to have a firm grip. Now, to everyone here who I've met, I'm pretty sure they can vouch for me because I introduce myself with handshakes a lot. But the thing with this habit is that throughout the many years, I've learned from the many people who taught me this. First, it was from the high school student that I've met. Second, it was from a friend in university. Third, it was a video of Jack Harlow demonstrating it, which is very weird because I don't know how I came about that video. But the thing with this habit is that I cannot attribute it to only a single person, nor can I take full credit of the habit being mine. You see, through years of friendship, familial bonds, and also looking up to the people who have done it, I made a foreign practice my own. There's this famous quote from an author that I want to show you. Nothing of me is original. I am the combined effort of everyone I've ever known. Essentially, he is saying that everyone he's ever met become pieces stuck to him, which eventually becomes himself. And ironically, these pieces were also from other people that these humans have encountered before. And this part of the quote where it says, nothing of me is original, is so true because this quote is not even the original one, and there's another version of the quote in which I will show you. I am a mosaic of everyone I've ever loved, even just for a heartbeat, by Miss Hannah. You see, everything about me is not original. I am a combination of the people whom I love, shared secrets with, had a relationship together, had a childhood together, and even to the people who's not in my life anymore. Now, I've met and encountered a lot of people in my life, but for this talk specifically, I will mention a few role models who have inspired me throughout my life and which I believe everyone in this room can take inspiration from. In their own way, they define what it meant to be limitless. Now, the first person I'm going to talk about is someone who I believe everyone in this room is accustomed to, and that is Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant, a living legend, a great basketball player, accumulating a lot of accomplishments such as 5 championships, 1 MVP, and many scoring titles. You see, Kobe Bean Bryant was a hero to many. He was a childhood hero for me as well. I didn't know basketball or didn't like basketball until I've met the guy. I didn't, but I've seen him in YouTube. And he continued to inspire people until this day. Rest his soul. And throughout his career, he applied one mentality that is widely known as well, called the Mamba mentality. Now, the Mamba mentality is simple on paper, but way hard to execute in real life. Why? Because it simply means to strive to be the greatest version of yourself every day, without compromise. So, every night, you will look yourself in the mirror, after doing the work that you've done daily and ask yourself a simple question. Did I get better today? And if the answer is yes, it builds up for 100 days, 200 days, 300 days, where eventually you become a new version of yourself, where it becomes your own new best version. Now, what inspired me the most about Kobe Bryant is what he was able to do in his position. Because he wasn't only a basketball player, no, he was a storyteller, a father, and also an Oscar winner. You see, Kobe showed us that true greatness is not about talent alone. It's about how far you're willing to push past your comfort zone and achieve the success that you intend to do. Now, the next person I want to talk about, is someone who has changed his life physically and also mentally. Mr. David Goggins, the ultra marathon runner, a retired Navy SEAL, and also a best-selling author of the book Can't Hurt Me. Most famously, he has lost 45 kilograms in the span of 3 months to enter the Navy, which is incredible to say the least. Now, Mr. David Goggins, like Kobe, had the same relentless spirit, but his journey was inspired through suffering. You see, he was a survivor. He witnessed the murder of his stepfather at the mere age of 14 years old, and he was a victim of prejudice throughout his whole childhood. But that didn't stop him from anything. He, he had a relentless spirit to himself, and he showed that his journey doesn't need to be fueled by perfection. It was the opposite exactly. It was imperfection. You see, he had his fair share of traumas, he had his fair share of failures, he had his fair share of setbacks, but that did not stop him from continuing to fight. He is the embodiment of how the human spirit is far more resilient than we give it for. Now, the third person I want to talk about is not exactly as popular as the other two. I mean, in comparison, she did not write a best-selling book, but I would argue that she had the same relentless kind of spirit as Goggins and Kobe. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Miss Natasha Widiarty, also known as my mother. Now, to give a bit of a backstory, my mother had been a single mother for the majority of my life. She held the fort down for her two kids and carried the household through rough times just to make sure that we had enough food on the table. There were even rough times when she had to move from job to job and sacrifice her own sleep and comfort to provide for my sister and me. But you see, through all that suffering and through all that challenges, not a single moment did she let them define her. Even to this day, she continued to keep fighting on. Recently, in recent years, she had been diagnosed with cancer, but she did not, in any sense of way, stop from doing what she wanted to do. She started the gym. She continued to eat what she loved. And of course, she spent time with me, my sister, and our 6 cats. And just today, she marked a great milestone in her fighting journey as she recently told me that her cancer cells are no longer active. And through all that journey, she continued to fight on until this day, even to make a living for herself and for my family. You see, I would argue that she had the same tenacity as Kobe and Goggins. But the difference between her and these two figures is that her arena wasn't the NBA or the Navy training grounds. It was life itself. And through that arena, she taught me the greatest lesson of all time. True strength is not measured by trophies or accolades. It's by how far you're willing to go for the people you love. Now, these 3 figures have inspired me countlessly throughout my life, and I believe you all can take a few lessons from them, as I argue that they have shared the same mindset, even though they live in a completely different world. So in a sense, I will share to you now 4 lessons in which they themselves traveled through their journey to become limitless. Lesson number 1. Discipline is the state of the mind. Kobe's routine was very simple. He followed it constantly throughout his 20-year career. He would wake up at 3 a.m., then train at 4 a.m., then at 9 a.m., then at 2 p.m., then 7 p.m., all while maintaining his life with his family. He had to balance his pursuit of greatness with fatherhood, otherwise, he could not juggle the responsibilities and time for these agendas. Goggins had the same kind of discipline and commitment throughout his life to enter the Navy SEAL and to lose the amount of weight that he lost. He applied not only mental discipline, but also physical discipline, as he had to overcome his past traumas to get where he's at right now. My mother woke up every morning, went to work, saved up money for me and my sister's education, all while keeping her health in check. Not because she was waiting for motivation. No, it was because she relied on discipline. Now, the second point that we all can take is very much what should be our core of our own journey, and that is purpose is what gets you through when everything falls. All three of these figures were driven by a sense of purpose greater than themselves. They had to, otherwise, they could not contribute to their journey. Kobe's purpose was simple: to be the greatest there ever is. And you can see by the amount of accolades that he had that you can vouch for him and his mission. Goggins' mission was to be the baddest person, not the baddest. I would argue say he was the toughest person on the planet. And whether you believe him or not, he himself believed it, and that was all that matters. And he committed himself to not let his past traumas define him and who he is. My mother got through her life by the purpose of sacrificing her own to make a better living for her two children, because that's all what she had. In a sense, motherhood became her own sense of purpose and living. Now, the third point that I want to point out is something that we can apply through every day as well, which is consistency through pain. Now, through your journey to become limitless, there will be rocky roads, mountains, and even dead ends. And these three people know very well how true that is. Kobe had years of drought in his team. He also had years of injuries piling up, and also the noise and of the arena of people talking at whatever he's trying to do. But he persevered to have an amazing 20-year career, accumulating what he had as accolades. Goggins went through adversity through his rough childhood of abuse and also poverty. He himself has said that he should only be a statistic in the face of racism, poverty, abuse, and violence. And my mother went through years of uncertainty and also years of not knowing where to go, but she never gave up once because she could not risk doing it, because that was the only path that she knew. That was the only thing that she can do with all of that she's fighting for. Now, the final and fourth point is something that I believe is the most important, I would argue, because this is something that we all go through every day, which is quiet resilience, the strength that doesn't need applause. You see, Kobe had put crucial work and practice through behind the curtains for years. He didn't even have a chance to play as a starter in his team until years down the line. But he continued to do the work to do so and put the work that no one else was willing to do. Goggins held years of trauma and decades of pain through himself until he finally came on and write a book about it, highlighting how he has overcome all of it. You see, the ironic thing about this point is that the work that you put in which no one sees, eventually becomes the work in which everyone sees, the results that everyone sees. Now that Goggins and Kobe had gone through years of their journey, they now had the roars of the stadium and also the eyes of the internet. You see, these work become a crucial part of our life, because what do you do when no one else is watching? Are you committed, or are you just there for the applause? But I haven't mentioned one other person. You see, my mother never had applause, nor did she have the eyes of the internet. She only had two of us in her life. Yet, I would argue her resilience is as strong or even stronger than the other two. Well, of course I would, because she's my mother, I would be biased. But the thing with her is that she did not need to be famous to be limitless. She only lifted. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you.